What's good, y'all? I just wanted to do another short little conversation video. The Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary was coming up, and it got me thinking, like, how many of y'all still got your PSPs, one of these right here? And even more importantly, hold on. How many of y'all still got this game right here? Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core for the PSP. Like I said, the anniversary just got me thinking about it, because this was like, I was a fan of 7 before I played this game, even though I had never played the original. It was probably because like my uncle, he was a Final Fantasy fan, and I found out about it through him, and he had like the original 7, and then he had like the PS1 Classic on the PS3. I also had the Cydia too, that helped me like get introduced to Cloud and that whole character, and then me probably looking up videos and learning about the universe. But the first time I actually got to play in that universe and experience it in some form was with Crisis Core. And I kind of just want to talk about it because I kind of hope this game gets, and I know it probably won't, if you ever heard of Type 0. Type 0 was a game that was for the PSP originally too, and it got an HD version around the time 15 was coming out, and it came with the demo of 15, so you got to play a little demo before it came out. But I ended up getting that, and I ended up liking Type 0 way more than I thought it would. It was very fun. And like, if you were to tell me that was a PSP game, I would have been like, nah, that game seemed like, the amount of content in that game seemed like a PS2 game or something. If you haven't played that, it's definitely worth looking at. And the visuals look amazing. Like I said, it's HD version, but it looks crazy. And I was kind of hoping Crisis Core kind of get that treatment too. Like, I think it is something definitely worth looking back at, especially if you haven't played it and you're a fan of 7, because it answers a lot of questions, or just give more context to things, like a lot of character motivations, like Sephiroth even. Like in Sephiroth, you kind of know, what happens to him when he goes in the tower, reads about what happened to him and drives him crazy. But in the original, not the original, but Crisis Core, you get to see who he kind of was a little bit, not too much, but just a little bit with Zack Hero as well. Zack was a character introduced in the original, just for a little bit. You could see the whole flashback of like him and Cloud, but you don't really find out too much about him. But in this version, he's the main character. He's the person you play as, and he's actually a really dope character. And like, one of the cool things they do with him is in the beginning, he's just like this soldier with all his hopes and dreams of being in Shinra, being a soldier first class. And you go through that journey with him. But as the game goes on and Shinra reveals who they really are, his model starts to change. Like, he grows his hair out, he gets the Buster Sword. He no longer has the little infantry sword that he get. He got a scar on his face from incidents, and I like when games do little details like that, like you actually grow with the character. It does things with Cloud. Like, one of the complaints I hear with Cloud a lot is Cloud's this boring character that always broods all the time. But in Crisis Core, you could see who Cloud really was. You kind of get to see who he really is in the original 7. By the time him and Tifa go into his mind and really look for his personality, but by the time that happens, you're at the end of the game already. In Crisis Core, Cloud is who he is the whole time. The whole Les Mosey and all that, that's the Cloud you get that whole game. And you feel more for him, because like Zack, he was just a dude with hopes and dreams of being a soldier and impressing Tifa and all this. But by the time you get to the end of the game, it's like seeing a true colors show, and both of them like you have to reevaluate and rethink of what they're gonna do. So it just gives a lot of context like that. Story wise, I feel like it's very important to 7. And I know they're doing the whole thing where I believe they're doing another remake of 7, but it's like a mobile version. But I believe the whole point of that is to be more akin to the original story, because the 7 remake is kind of doing its own thing. This version of the remake is supposed to be more original, and I think they're including Crisis Core in that, which is cool. But like I said, I want to see like an HD version of this, kind of like Type 0. I think it's something definitely worth looking at. You also got characters that weren't really introduced, like Genesis, and it speaks a lot on like the sales and things. Like I feel like original had a lot of questions, like the whole Genova sales and all of this, and Crisis Core kind of explain things, even things like the Buster Sword. You get to learn the origins of the Buster Sword. Like, when I played the original, I didn't even think about that. Like, Or even I knew Cloud, like, why does Cloud have this gigantic sword and none of the other soldiers have that? It's like, where did that come from? But in Crisis Core, there's actually lore to that sword, and you get it was more than just Zack having it. It was somebody even before that, and in this game you get to meet him, and his name is Angel. He's another cool character. I liked a lot of the characters in this game and the interaction between them. Like you meet a character like Cisne, I believe she's with the Turks. Aerith is also in this game. You get to meet Aerith before all of this happened, and you get to just see what led to them being the characters they are now. Like, why are they the way they are now? Even like with Tifa, was like I said in the version you can't understand, but like Aerith, I feel like you get to understand more playing this game. Cloud, you even get to understand how Cloud became like this little brood and thing where he get all this soldier stuff from. Like, he was never in it. You really get to see that and the personality that he tried to take on. But Zack itself is just a really fun and dope character that you feel for, especially when you find out what happened in the end. And I remember being a kid, bro, I got spoiled like a mug. I don't know why. I think I was like looking up cutscenes or whatever, and one of the first thumbnails was just Zack just dead. And I'm like, bro, please tell me this man do not die at the end of this game. Maybe I'll get another ending. He gone. And if you played the original, you probably already knew that was coming. But for me, I didn't play the original at that time. So I feel like I had a different look on 7 when I did get to play it, because I played Crisis Core. So a lot of the connections, I was like, oh, this and that and that. It was really fun. I found the combat interesting too. It was more action RPG, so kind of like the remake, but not really. It was more simple, because obviously it was the PSP, but it had like cool systems like materia fusion, and I like the whole idea of being able to make your materia and find new combinations and being excited, like, oh, let's see what this materia doing is. The whole materia system in both the original 7 and Crisis Core is always interested in me, because it's like one person might have it when they play through can be completely different on what you had, and just make that whole experience different. So I feel like that was just always fun. It also had things like, which were cool, but kind of like I wish kind of were different. The DMW system, I believe is what it called. Basically, it was kind of based on luck, but I'm pretty sure there were factors that you could do to influence how it behaved. But basically, like, all his special moves were based on this system that kind of like spent the wheel like a casino almost. It didn't like a special move activate, and it was also the same or summons. And it was based on his personality, so it also kind of like influenced based on where the story was, like especially the last fight. It was like flashbacks and how that kind of was. I don't want to get too much into it, but it was just cool. Like it had not only a gameplay purpose, but it served a story purpose. I wish you could have did more of the moves on your own, but it was cool. It was just a cool game, and I feel like it deserved just another look at least if it won't get the HD push, which I hope it will. Maybe they can, because PlayStation's doing the whole thing where they're taking some of the older games, and I believe some of the PSP games too, and they're allowing you to play it. Hopefully that's one of the games that they port over so people can get to try it. And I feel like more people know about it now that 7's kind of back in the conversation, but I still don't hear too many people talking about it. It's a really fun game. Good characters, great cutscene. As always, Square always got great cutscenes in the game. So that's, if it's one thing Square gonna have, is some good music and some good cutscenes. So it's pretty good, and I feel like it kind of helps. Like I said, you get to make sense of the story, and because I played that first and then the original, you know, I had a different relationship with these characters. Like, I already had a connection with them, and I got to understand their motivations even more, versus just hopping in their game not knowing anything. And at 7, it helped me 7 become like my favorite game of all time, and make me appreciate the remake even more, which I'm very curious to see. Now that Zack is another reason why I hope they bring him back is because Zack is like in a remake, and they even using like that character, like how he was stylized in that Crisis Core, they using that. So I feel like, you know, if it was a time to do that, give a little HD version maybe before the remake part 2 come out, maybe they could push that out too. Yeah, it's cool to see Zack back. I don't know what they're gonna do with him in the story. That's a whole nother video in itself. Like I said, for the original Crisis Core, since we going in that direction anyway, bringing Zack into the fray, it'd be cool to get the game of where he came from and his origin story, and just this origin of 7 almost. It's a really cool game. If you haven't played it, you should definitely check it out. Maybe if y'all guys want me to, I can go back and play it. Then we could do like a full deep dive. I just kind of want to talk about it here to see if anybody remembered it, if anybody still has the original copy. Like I said, if you haven't played it, I definitely think it is worth checking out. Hopefully they do the HD version. But that's pretty much it for this video. But if y'all want to see more videos like this, where I kind of do talk about something that's been on my mind or a different game, or if you have a game that you want me to play, because believe me, there are a lot of games I have not played that I would love to play and talk about, we can do. Just let me know in the comments below. Like I said, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.